Hi everyone, welcome to After Class
a podcast by two passionate adult ballerinas about all things adult ballet related.
and some random thoughts in between.
We're so glad you're here.
So grab your water bottle
Or a cup of coffee.
and join us for a quick chat after class.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the After Class podcast. Today, I'm super excited to have Chelsea on the podcast co-hosting with me. Elena is still out on maternity leave, but today we're going to talk about Chelsea's dancewear line, Dianne Dancewear, and just about her journey as an adult ballet dancer and also as someone who is working on her own line and contributing to the adult ballet space in that way. So welcome to the podcast, Chelsea.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. I have admired your skirts specifically on Instagram for a long time. I'm sure a lot of the listeners might know who you are from following you on Instagram, but I would love to hear a little bit about your background in ballet as an adult dancer, whether you danced as a child, kind of how you came into it. So could you share a little bit of your journey with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually I didn't do ballet as a child. I did a little bit of ballroom dance. Funny how my mom put me into things that she liked. So she liked ballroom dance, so I got into ballroom dance. It didn't stick though. I end up getting into equestrian sports, and that took all the time. So ballet didn't come to me till much later. So I'm trying to think back. So it was 2016 actually when I started to look into this ballet thing. I read a book. Actually, I was taking a book editing course, and we had to read young adult fiction. And so the book I picked was that they made it into a Netflix series. It's called Tiny Pretty Things. The Netflix series is not like the book. Well, kind of, but not quite. So I read that book, and I was just admiring the ballet kind of dedication, because that was something that we, didn't with horses, you're dedicated to that, and you strive for that perfection and that same level of commitment and everything. So I admired that about these young dancers that I was reading about, and how so young they gave their life to this art form. So I was just intrigued, and then it became this thing. I was like, do adults do this? How do you do this? Maybe I could try. So too afraid to admit it to anyone because it just seemed like this outlandish idea. I just started doing YouTube videos and tutorials at home in the kitchen, because I was like, how do you do this? What is it? And I was scared to tell anyone or admit it or be open about it. So I did Catherine Morgan videos, her early videos of bars, and trying to learn and figuring it out. It took, I think, 6 months of me doing my little YouTube videos in the kitchen or the bedroom, using the dresser as a bar, all kinds of things, before I finally walked into or signed up for a class and went. There was actually a studio in my local area. I live quite rurally, so finding it was kind of a miracle. Of course, you're on the internet, you're scouring sites, but there's nothing really there. So I was able to find a place that was offering adult classes, and I showed up, and I was the only one there.
Oh gosh.
Which was a little bit horrifying, but also was probably a blessing, because I think I would have been really intimidated. Then the next week, actually, somebody else showed up. So then that was great. So then I had a ballet friend. And so that was really great. One of the things that, looking back on it all now, one of the best things about that place was that it didn't have mirrors, because I think if I would have seen myself, I would have been like, oh my gosh, is that what I look like? And been discouraged. So it's just kind of a funny, and it was something that I kept to myself for a long time, because I didn't want people to think about or to be judgmental and then put me off of it. I was really afraid to tell anyone and be discouraged and admit it openly that I was taking ballet class. And it took a really long time. I actually think it took a year or two before I admitted that I was taking class. And I joined a different dance studio from that one. That my initial studio was 15, 20 minutes away. And then the next one that my ballet friend was like, there's another studio, actually. It's just further away. So but you should try it, though. You should really try it. You'd like it. There's a great group of people. There's more people. She had torn her meniscus, so she was trying to do a lot more activity. So she was doing classes here at this local studio and class at this other place. There's they do a recital, there's a great group of adults. Let's go. Let's do this. And so that took a while, again, more convincing. And then I finally went to that studio, and that was 6 or so 7 years ago. And I kind of have never looked back from there. Did a lot of online once the pandemic happened and things like that. But that little group of women at that studio that I went to was really honestly a great inspiration, and a bunch of people, some had danced before, some hadn't, and it was just how honestly I got started.
Hi friends, just wanted to remind you that thebusybunhead.com is now live, so make sure you head over and check that out. It is a hub for all things adult ballet. Right now we have published a list of all the adult ballet intensives happening in 2025, so make sure you go check out the website and find your next adult ballet intensive. I love hearing just your unique entry into ballet, because I think there's so many things I'm like just want to touch on in that I think are so interesting. Because one of the things I would love to hear what your thoughts are on having taken online classes at the very beginning, because I've always thought I did a little bit of ballet as a child, so coming into the studio again as an adult, I wasn't really starting from square one. Like, I knew basic terminology and things like that, but I've always thought that for adults that are coming in no experience, that's probably what I would do, is do YouTube for a little bit just to get a little more acclimated before you're going in cold turkey to a studio setting. So is that something that you think you would, I guess, recommend to other adult dancers as like a good strategy for starting?
I think so. I think unless somebody was offering like a absolute basic beginner, like this is the first time you've ever done this sort of class, then yes. For me, I didn't want to go in again, like, I was intimidated beyond. So even seeing people that were better than I was, if you will, like if they looked better, more accomplished, had like the right ballet expressions or better hands or something, it was intimidating to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to know how to do this before I go into that setting and there's other people. And it's funny because you think that everyone's watching you. Nobody's watching.
It's so true. Yeah.
Nobody else is looking at you, but of course, like I'm looking at other people, so they must be looking at me. And it was just a lot of it was just very intimidating to me. And I guess, it's funny because I came from like those equestrian sports I've been doing since I was a kid. So by that point in my life, I was fairly accomplished at it. So it had been a long time since I'd been a beginner at something like that and put myself out in that setting where I don't know what I'm doing, and it's evident. And some people had danced as kids, and you could tell that their muscle memory was there, and they looked the part too. So it was intimidating for me, and I was learning. And of course, you're just kind of flailing around. Also, the second studio I went to had mirrors, so I was just stuck watching myself, and like your arms and legs start moving, and I couldn't stop, and didn't know what steps I was doing. So I'm just like watching myself kind of flail. None of it looked like the way I thought it did.
Yeah.
So it was actually truly a battle. So home classes were where I could stop and focus and learn, and I did not catch on to steps very quickly at all. I needed them broken down into such tiny little segments, and like, can you do that again? Can you do it again? Can you slow that down? It's not even humanly possible to slow it down to the degree I needed it. So
Yeah, I relate to that because I'm a total repetition learner.
yeah.
But I really think it's interesting too. Another thing that you circled back to was the no mirrors in your first studio, because I wonder, and maybe you can speak to this, if you feel like that time without mirrors was kind of a gift for being able to just focus on how things felt before you were having to look at how they looked.
Honestly, it was beneficial for so many things because I didn't see it. And so I could get comfortable with the movement and everything to a degree, like at the bar, especially. And of course, it was easier to do bar at home. I mean, I don't have a big floor space where I could try to do any like sort of ballet class. So yeah, there was a lot of just trying to figure out and be comfortable. And so with that being comfortable is where the whole dance wear starts, because when you start a new hobby, you go and you get the outfit. Well, at least I do.
Yeah.
So I ordered my initial outfit off of Amazon, and it was of course like a black leotard with tights and a skirt, and it was fine. None of it was like really particularly good quality. And the skirt, honestly, I felt like I was so exposed. Like it was such
Mhm.
little clothing for what I was of course used to. And I was like, this is like, it's a bathing suit, basically. I was just like I was very self-conscious about every aspect of the attire. So luckily, at some point, I saw some ballet people wearing like a leotard with like yoga pants. And that was my outfit for years. So I could still wear the pretty various leotards, but I had the comfort of my yoga pants.
Yeah.
And my tights were under the yoga pants too. So maybe that was a fashion statement that'll come back eventually. There weren't a lot of dance stores either in the area just from where I live. And of course, when you went to one, if you found one, it was very geared towards kids. There was really no adult stuff, and they were kinda like, "Oh, you dance?" But first, they always thought you were there for your kid.
Yes. I have had that experience too.
Right? So that was like all that again was another thing that made me feel like I didn't belong and I shouldn't be there. And so I was like, "Oh my gosh." So didn't love that. And again, like, it's one of those things, like, you're completely new to it, so you don't really know, and you're just confused, and so I was, like, looking at these ballet skirts, and they were so small. There was nothing to them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you wear those?" And I was like I couldn't imagine at that point either.
Yeah.
And of course, what happened was I couldn't find one to actually fit me. Everything was really small. Even the teenage stuff that would have been geared towards them was too little. So, again, here's another thing that made me feel like I didn't belong. The skirt didn't fit. Somewhere along the way, though, I did get, like, a skirt that was like a mesh, and it was long and it worked. It fit, and I felt like I was kinda comfortable in it, but I don't remember wearing that to class, and I just was never happy with the skirt, and so, a couple of the very first skirts that I actually got that fit, that looked right were do you remember when the Catherine Morgan Hall existed from Dance Hall?
Yes. Yes. That
Oh,
was, yeah, a while ago.
love that. I subscribed to that almost from the beginning, and I got, like, a couple of skirts in that, and they fit, and I was so excited, and so I started just, like, when I would practice and do bar at home, I would wear those, and then finally one day, I wore a skirt to class. It was a big moment. Everybody noticed. And so there it was. So from that, again, another thing was born because they were, the elastic waistband ones or like the SAB skirts or
Mhm.
something like that. The wrap skirts that were floral and pretty never fit me, and that bothered me. And one girl always wore these really gorgeous skirts that she got off of Etsy to class, and they just looked so pretty, and I envied them so much. And so one day, actually, a friend bought me a gift, and it was one of these floral Etsy skirts, and it was stunning. It was just a little too small. And I was like a little bit brokenhearted. It was a beautiful gift. I appreciated it. It was stunning, and it just didn't fit me in any way that I was like comfortable wearing it.
Yeah.
So this is again like months going by, and then somewhere along the way, I got this idea that maybe I could make them. And I think you had asked me, like, did you know how to sew? And it's like my sewing skills would be so incredibly elementary. But I was like, it can't be that hard.
Yeah. You're like, "I think I can do this."
I can do this. And so I actually asked my mom, like, "Hey mom, do you think we can do this?" And I went and bought material and was like, "Yeah, we can totally do this." And so I remember sitting at this sewing machine that mom had and trying to sew a skirt, and she was like, "That looks terrible."
Picking out the fabrics had to have been fun, though. I would imagine going to a fabric store and being like, "What do I wanna make a skirt out of?" would be so fun.
So that was actually a lot of fun. There was this beautiful, actually, I'll never forget, it was this mint green color and it was perfection. Like it felt really beautiful and flowy and was just absolutely stunning. Absolutely still have some of that fabric. And so I had bought some like white or something just so I could like make things. But that first skirt was an absolute atrocity. It wasn't cute at all. And like it was lumpy. Like I had no idea. Like chiffon is actually quite hard to work with.
Yeah, because it's so delicate. I would imagine it's difficult, yeah.
Slippery. So my mom was like, "You need a serger." And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "A sewing machine's not going to do this. Like, you need a serger." And so I was like, "I don't really know what that is." And she's like, "You need to call Anita." So that was my mom's friend. And Anita came up and taught me how to use a serger sewing machine. So it's like an overlocker. It has 3 or 4 pieces of thread or rolls that cut the material and like roll the hem and like make that pretty ballet.
Okay, so that's like the where it's kind of finished along the edge is
That
the
finish, yes. So, you can do that, I guess, with a sewing machine. You need, like, a rolled hem foot and da 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 da, but the serger covers up a kind of a manner of sins, if you will. Like, if you don't cut it absolutely perfect, serger will just trim it off and roll it in, and it's very refined. So mom was like, you need to learn how to do that. So her friend came up and taught me how to use the sewing or the serger machine. And then actually to this day, the part that my mom does is she sews the waistband on. So I do the serging of the chiffon like actual skirt part, and then the cotton waist tie is what my mom sews on all of those skirts.
Yeah, I love that though. It's a team effort. Like that's so special that you and your mom get to do
Yeah.
that.
It became something that we did because right about the time I kicked off this idea, hey, I'd like to do this, the pandemic hit. So I was actually at home just making skirts.
You're like,
And
well, I have time now, so here we go.
yeah, so that's when it actually all really started. And then I had the time because I wasn't going to work and you're not driving anywhere. So I was able to make like a couple dozen skirts before we were finally able to make skirts that we were ready to sell. Get good at it and work on a pattern. And actually, the pattern for the skirts that I used, it was one I sort of had developed. So I took skirts I liked that fit me and sort of made something work. So I taped a bunch of papers together,
Yeah.
lay skirts on the papers. So then like this skirt, the purple skirt had the right length. Like that was the
Yeah.
length I needed. But the blue skirt was the sorry, the length is in like the waistband part, but then the blue one had like the right length down my legs or what have you, like
Mhm.
enough coverage. So that's sort of how I started to evolve and shape what I wanted the skirt to look like. And then of course I
Wow.
put them on. And in the early days, the skirts were all basically made to fit me.
You're like, one size, everybody, my size. That's what you get.
And so of course, we got a dress form on Facebook Marketplace and she's really little. So her name is Glennis. And so she's really small. So that was great because the skirts could wrap to fitting Glennis really nice and then still fit me really nice. And so that was honestly my first size was between me and Glennis. And that's sort of like the beginning of how we developed it. And some of it was just like, you would get a skirt and be like, well, I like the length in this, but I don't like this. So
Yeah.
then I would make something and change it. And
Yeah, so it's like piecing together. And then I would imagine too, drape, because probably right the angle that you cut
yeah,
affects how it lays, like if it's more of an A line versus more straight. Like I would just think there's so many little nuances that you probably had to figure out that would be
yes.
difficult and
Yes, and
tedious.
and some of them just, like, didn't work or then this, and then in the early days, you wasted a little bit because you were trying to figure it out, and I was like, "No, that doesn't work. No, that's too short." And, you're double measuring and you're like, "Okay, this is where it needs to be,"
Yeah.
or what have you. So, it was kinda interesting how we figured it out, but one of my favorite things is the fabric, though, like you said, like, picking the fabric out, going to the store, looking at it online.
Yeah, that's just so fun. I love too that it was born out of a felt need, of like, because it's so true. Like, I too have had the experience of being the assumed mom at a dance store
Yes.
and asking about tights and them, saying, like, oh, well, what studio does your child go to? And I was like, no, no, they're for me.
Right, right.
uh, yeah, and it's same with me. The stores right around me in my immediate vicinity are catered to the kids, and so there's not a lot.
Yeah.
I've taken to doing way more online shopping, pretty much exclusively online because there's just not a lot for adults and adult sizes in my area, and I think that's something that a lot of adult dancers have experienced of wanting to feel beautiful for class, wanting to wear the things that we see professionals wearing, on
Absolutely.
Instagram, and then feeling like there's nothing that
There's
fills
one
that.
skirt in that shop. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
usually black. If you can find something in your size, it's usually just black, which, I love black every once in a while, but you also want the fun fabrics too. And so I love that it came from really experiencing that and wanting something better for yourself. And then also now it's spread out into being able to offer that to other adult dancers who want to be able to find something that fits them and covers them. And, because you're right, it's like you hold up the short skirts sometimes and they're like, look like headband size. And I'm like, that is not going to cover my bum.
not a bit. Not a bit. And again, just like, people have different like comfort zones of what they are, willing or not willing to like show on their bodies for various reasons. And if you don't like your legs or if you don't like your bum or you don't like your hips, like
Mhm.
people try to buy clothes to show off what they like or to cover up what they don't or whatever. And you dress like what makes you feel good. So that part was really honestly the big inspiration for me is I wanted stuff to fit. So then it just kind of became something really fun. I had all these skirts now that I could wear. And that was inspiring to me to kind of keep going. And then it grew into something more than I honestly ever imagined. Like somebody would reach out and be like, "Hi, I see you make skirts. Can you make my size?" And again, developing a pattern for someone that wasn't my size was again a little bit tricky. And I had a lot of really helpful friends. And I was like, "What size are you?"
You try this on for me. Yeah, can I use you as a model?
Yeah, so I did a lot of that, and then eventually, like, typically now, if somebody tells me their waist size and what they like, I can make it work, but that took a while. But initially, it was down to my friends, and I would look at it and be like, no, yes, this, I'll tweak this or that, and you start again, and that was really helpful to have people to make some more inclusive sizing. There's smaller, larger, whatever. It didn't matter. I needed some size diversity to figure out what we needed. And it was just a real pleasure to start to do that for people and to make something that wasn't just black and really, offer that. And then we got into like rehearsal skirts because those are really pretty. It's
Mhm.
funny because in the beginning, all I wanted were the floral patterns, the pretty florals, because that's what I was missing so badly. But now I love rehearsal skirts so much, and I am more often than not wearing those. So it was kind of like a little bit of a shift there.
Yeah, what was that moment like? I would imagine the first time seeing someone else, like, did you have someone in your class or something that you did an order for and, like, getting to see your skirt on someone or on social media? Like, was that just a really cool moment?
The first ones that I made, actually, I named them all after those people I danced with, like
Oh, I
Jessica,
love that.
Jennifer, Jeanette, so all these people, I gave them the skirt that I named after them. So that's when I first saw them on other people. And so that was pretty fun actually, because you had the skirts named after the people and they would wear it. And I was like, sorry if you don't like the pattern, but I named this after you. You have to wear this now. Um, so so that was the first skirt that I saw on people, and I mean, yeah, I guess months down the line, when people finally would send me pictures wearing the skirt, like somebody bought one of the blue rehearsal skirts and had it for a photo shoot, and seeing those pictures was just absolutely the pictures are stunning because she was a beautiful dancer, but my skirt being in them was just really really great.
Yeah, so cool. I love that because I just feel like such a big part of dance and a lot of the reason why we as adults enjoy dance and stick with it is because that feeling that it gives us, where you just have these moments where you just feel beautiful. I mean, you definitely have moments where you don't feel beautiful too. And but you have these moments, and I think that's in some ways, like, what we're chasing is just, like, this feeling, and I feel like when I put on a really beautiful skirt or beautiful leotard, it bolsters that feeling of feeling good in my body and wanting to move to the music and feeling graceful and elegant, and so giving that to other people through what you're creating is, I would imagine, a really gratifying thing.
Well, I like literally you're just what you just described is absolutely how I feel. It's just that, right? Like you for me to like the outfit is my first step towards setting myself up for class. Like so you put on your outfit and you're ready and you wear something fun or pretty or however you're feeling and whatever you're bringing out in yourself that day. So absolutely contributing to a part of somebody's day like that is absolutely fun. And I love seeing them in the studio when I see them in person.
Mhm.
Those are a lot of fun. And of course, when I see them online, it is really, I guess, rewarding to
Yeah.
see them out in the world. That part is really cool. Like it became bigger than I ever imagined it would. I didn't expect it to be this. I really didn't. It was great that it took the road it did. And I'm like super grateful to everyone who supported us and bought skirts and shared pictures or whatever it was along the way.
Yeah, I love that. I'm such a big believer in clothes are not just clothes. I mean, maybe if to some people, if that's how you feel about them, that's fine. But I feel like clothes are such a way of expressing ourselves, and especially with dance clothes. And so I feel more strongly about my own wardrobe than like, oh, it's just clothes. And I would imagine there are other people that are the same. Like it's a mechanism for self-expression, feeling good. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really special to be able to be a part of that for other people. And when people put on your things and like get that little extra boost of confidence for class. And that's just such a fun thing to be a part of. So how many years, I guess, total from when you kind of
Just
officially launched?
5. Just celebrate our little anniversary.
That's a big accomplishment. Could I would imagine that a lot of small businesses don't make it to 5 years because I would imagine the first 5 years are probably the most challenging.
Apparently, that is the statistic, actually, the first 5 years. It is, I guess, like my stepdad calls it a cottage business. Like, it is run under our home. Like, we don't have to pay rent. We don't have to pay, like, a storefront, like, all that stuff. So it is still, like, kind of a bit of a hobby, really. It's not like my sole source of income. It is very much like a side gig that we have that we're passionate about. And I don't know that we would ever want it to become a full-time thing, because we enjoy doing it and we enjoy making these skirts for people and them going out into the world and seeing where they end up and in the world is also really fun. So that part is just like kind of a joy. I don't want it to take away from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a time-consuming hobby, though, I would imagine. Like, it's not a small thing because you list primarily on Etsy, right? So you also have to manage the more administrative part of it. Like, it's not just the making the skirts, it's the whole other side, which I would guess is time-consuming.
Yeah, and buying the fabric and you buy the fabric, you make the skirts, you then have to package the skirts and then you have to, mail the skirts. So there is like a big range of duties all, yeah, and when you make a skirt, you have to take pictures of the skirts. Like then you have to
Mhm.
Etsy is actually a really great platform for anyone who ever is listening out there that wants to list things on Etsy. It's a really supportive, really great platform to do that. I personally can't speak more highly of it.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you also do things that you create that you decide, and then you also do custom orders? Is that
So
right?
we'll do custom orders for people. So sometimes I will just like make skirts like ready to wear, like this is what we have off the rack kind of things. And then I usually like when I buy fabric, I usually make some and then hold back some if somebody wants a custom order of something. So depending on what it is, I'll have some more kicking around and so they'll be ready to wear. And then sometimes it depends on the fabric too. Like the other day we got this beautiful fabric and I was like, that will make really nice rehearsal skirts because of
Mhm.
the pattern. It wouldn't make like the shorter skirts because the pattern would just not really work and
Be showcased fully,
yeah.
like too little fabric, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes the fabric is what gives me the idea for something because 'cause you're, like, standing in the fabric store and you're looking at it and it's like, how would this fit my pattern? And I'm, like, holding it out and, like,
Yeah.
touching it and, like, looking and being like, "Okay, yes, I could make this," or "This has to be a rehearsal skirt," or, "Oh, this, is whatever." So, sometimes that is sort of what happens, but, yeah, I will try to make, like, a variety of sizes, and then, if somebody's looking for something else and they just send me a message and we make custom listings. Sometimes people reach out and they want, like, a dozen rehearsal skirts in a certain
Oh,
color,
wow.
like a showcase or a recital, and that's always really exciting when that can happen for people, and that's really cool. There's a whole adult ballet class group, recital happening with my skirts, and that's
That's so cool, I love that. Yeah, like, almost getting commissioned to do a piece of their costume. That's so cool.
yeah. Yeah, and that has happened, like, quite a few times over the years. I think the first time it happened, it was before Christmas, and I think they wanted a bunch of white skirts for everybody, and that was, like, so exciting for me to that we were gonna make, I think, 16 of these white skirts, and it was a thrill, and then a couple it happened more after that. Every time that happens, it's, like, just beyond thrilling.
I think it's so special to wear something that is made by a small business, by a person that you know who they are. I think it feels different wearing like I buy leg warmers from a company called Mamaco, but it's a mom
Yeah.
who makes them and I love her stuff and there's something special to me when I wear them of knowing that she made them. And I think people really feel connected to their items in a different way when they know that someone actually made them and it's just special.
Honestly, it's all really rewarding and brings me a lot of joy and to go back to I have nice skirts to wear for myself and I get that feeling that I was missing. So that's also important.
So special. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And where can people connect with you on Instagram?
So Dianne Dancewear is on Instagram is a great spot. Certainly my own like personal one too. I talk about my skirts on there because a lot of people see me wearing them in my pictures as well. And then of course you can message the shop on Etsy. So with Dianne Dancewear, I think on Etsy too, you have to leave the spaces out when you're looking for a shop name. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to find them. So yeah, Dianne Dancewear on Etsy.
Okay, perfect. And I'll include all of the links in the show notes so that people can find your stuff. And I love what you're doing. And it's really awesome to see people like you contributing such beautiful things to the adult dance space. I think it really does make an impact and it makes people feel good when they go to class, which is super special. So thank you for sharing about your journey with us. I loved hearing about it. It's so cool. I love getting to hear more about the people behind things that I'm seeing online. I know a lot of people are going to really like hearing your story and I'm just so grateful for your time. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to After Class.
Join the community on YouTube and Instagram or come dance with us, our weekly Zoom classes for adult ballerinas like you.
Links included in the episode description. Special thank you to our sponsors.
See you next time after class. Podcast produced by Mission Bridge Media.